In PJM, wholesale electricity market prices reflect conditions on the power grid. PJM uses locational marginal pricing, or LMP, to set a local price for wholesale electricity based on local power supply and demand conditions. Prices change constantly through each hour of the day as power use changes and the available supply of electricity increases or decreases. LMP changes to reflect the actual cost of producing energy when and where it is delivered. When electricity use is light, energy flows freely on the grid, and electricity prices are similar throughout PJM. You can think of LMP like a taxi traveling from one point to another. Cab fares usually are based on distance traveled and the time to get there. In light traffic, cabs can move freely and would charge similar fares for traveling the same distance. On this map, the color red represents a high locational marginal price, while blue represents a low price and purple represents negative prices. When the use of electricity at a location is high, transmission lines may become congested, meaning they cannot deliver the lowest cost electricity to that location. The local price, or LMP, rises because more expensive local generation must be run. Thinking about that taxi ride again, when there is a traffic jam, when traffic is congested, the cab's fare would increase. While the distance traveled has not changed, the difficulty of travel has. In addition to calling on more generation when power supplies are tight in a local area, PJM can keep power supply and demand in balance by reducing demand for electricity through a program known as demand response. Demand response involves consumers, including businesses, colleges, government agencies, and residences, who voluntarily agree to reduce their use of electricity when called on by PJM. In return, they receive payments for being available to cut back and for the reductions they actually make. The reductions in use not only balance electric supply and demand, they also moderate prices for electricity. May 31, 2011 illustrates how locational marginal pricing reflects shortages on the grid. That day, near-record temperatures along the eastern portion of PJM pushed electricity demand above normal, while many generating units were out of service. As electricity use increased through the day, large transmission lines reached their limits, preventing the flow of electricity from the west to the east. The supply of low-cost electricity in the east was nearly exhausted, so eastern prices increased. At 3:05 that afternoon, PJM called on its demand response participants to reduce their electricity consumption. By about 5 that afternoon, their reductions, combined with the remaining available generation, effectively increased the supply of electricity. Prices in the east moderated. These actions kept power flowing. This graph shows that as demand response increased, as indicated by the bars, wholesale electricity prices dropped, as indicated by the black line. Locational marginal pricing reflected the actual cost of energy in real time, helping to keep electricity flowing to all consumers in the most economical manner possible.